Harvard's future very much on the line right now. Donald Trump coming out moments ago and saying, you know what, you guys are not very nice to the United States of America. You are not treating our country very nice. And as a result, you're cut off. It's like the kid. No more money. You're done. Hey, Harvard. That's it. Like, this is really hurting Harvard. It's amazing because they get like 50 some odd billion dollars in their fund. You know, everybody pours money, leaves money to Harvard. It goes into their endowment fund, and you'd think that they'd be fine, but they actually rely on taxpayers more than you think. And because of that, Donald Trump's like, yeah, I get the money. I control the purse strings. So, you know, if you're not actually going to do anything about the anti-Semitism on campus, and if you're not going to do anything about this DEI nonsense that, by the way, the Supreme Court told you had to follow through with, then, you know, maybe we're not going to give you any money. How do you like that, Harvard? Here he is, just minutes ago.
How will the confrontation with Harvard end? Do you foresee?
I don't know. I don't know. Harvard's got to behave themselves. Harvard is treating our country with great disrespect, and all they're doing is getting in deeper and deeper and deeper. They've got to behave themselves. You know, I'm looking out for the country and for Harvard. I want Harvard to do well. I want Harvard to be great again, probably, because how could it be great? How could it be great when you have Harvard announced 2 weeks ago that they are going to teach remedial mathematics, remedial, meaning they're going to teach low-grade mathematics, like 2 + 2 is 4. How did these people get into Harvard if they can't do basic mathematics? How did they do it? I mean, people with 1,600 in their boards don't get in, and they're letting people in, and they're bragging about how they're teaching them basic mathematics. Where did these people come from? So we have to look at the list, and Harvard has to understand the last thing I want to do is hurt them. They're hurting themselves. They're fighting. You know, Columbia has been really, and they were very, very bad what they've done. They're very anti-Semitic and lots of other things. But they're working with us on finding a solution. And, you know, they're taking off that hot seat. But Harvard wants to fight. They want to show how smart they are. And they're getting their ass kicked.
Oh, my gosh. I had not heard the end of that soundbite. I did not realize he said that. They're getting their ass kicked. It's really funny. They are. Okay, they are. And the Wall Street Journal is totally rushing to their defense. And let me just say, the reason why this is such a big deal is because the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, just asked for some simple information. They have 7,000 foreign students there at Harvard University. And so DHS, Kristi Noem, said, hey, we would like to know whether any of these students have engaged in any of these protests, et cetera, and we would like this information rather promptly. And Harvard's like, well, we're not giving you this information. This is private information, to which the federal government's like, whoa, no. Harvard, you are not an island. You are not your own country. You do not control that. We need access. Department of Homeland Security needs access to this. It's like a no-brainer. And so she was like, hey, you know what? You're not going to give it to us? Then you're done. We're not going to allow foreign students to come to your country. Now, that's being challenged in court, but temporarily anyway, it's having an effect on Harvard. I mean, who would want to come to Harvard, right, as a foreign student? I wouldn't be applying there, right? I mean, you could get kicked out any second. So it's having a chilling effect, which is, I think, the goal and the design on Harvard, regardless of where this goes in the court system. While meanwhile, Trump's like, yeah, and we're canceling all federal contracts. So it's hundreds of millions of dollars that you thought you were going to get, you're not going to get. Kristi Noem on Fox the other night.
Some of these universities have even barred law enforcement officers from coming on campus and haven't even allowed there to be basic law and order on the areas that they're responsible for. So we're going to continue to do our investigations and make sure that what the Department of Homeland Security is responsible for, it will be done with integrity for the way that Congress laid out that programs should work, and the opportunities that we have to allow people to come into this country, learn, and to be a part of a country that promotes freedom and liberty and that everybody is equal. That's not what Harvard is doing, and that's not what we're seeing in some of these college campuses.
Could you foresee, or are you now considering similar moves with other universities like Columbia that has allowed Jewish students to be threatened and made unsafe?
Absolutely. We are absolutely, this should be a warning to every other university to get your act together. Get your act together, because we are coming to make sure that these programs, that you are facilitating an environment where students can learn, where they're safe, and that they're not discriminated against based on their race or their religion. Anti-Semitism will not be stood for, and any participation with a country or an entity or a terrorist group that hates America and perpetuates this kind of violence, we will stop it, and we will not allow that to happen, especially in places where our kids need to grow up and really learn what this country is about, what the world is about, and what it means to promote freedom and liberty.
I can tell you, I really like her, Kristi Noem, aka Ice Barbie. I know some people find that title demeaning. I don't, because she's super pretty. She's totally Ice Barbie, okay? But she's very serious too, and she means what she says, and she's taken this issue on, and it's good to see that kind of follow through, right? Hey, Harvard, here's the deal. We need this information on these students. Harvard says, we can't give you the information. She says, you know what, Harvard? Then we're not going to allow any foreign students to enroll in your university. Harvard says, we're going to fight that. The president comes in, says, yeah, you know what, Harvard? We're going to take away all your money too. So things are not looking good for Harvard right now. On top of that, you now have Marco Rubio getting into the act, breaking right now. The Department of State says that it is putting a pause on all student visas because they want to be able to do better vetting. They want to be able to look at the students' social media accounts. So you make sure you don't get any spies or rabble rousers or just, bad people, right, coming into the country that are, shall we say, not aligned with our vision of where things are going. And that's quite possible. Look at what, the Khalil guy over at Columbia University or the woman from Turkey at Tufts University. And they have a very sort of different view of things. And if you're at odds with where our State Department is, I don't think our State Department wants you here. Okay, like that, it's a free country, but it's not necessarily free in the sense that we have to welcome people in that are at odds with our sort of sense of foreign affairs. This came up recently. I remember Marco Rubio talking about this because he's like, wait a second, like if I invite you to my house for dinner and it turns out you're a real jerk and you start insulting me at the dinner table, why should I be inviting you to my house for dinner? And guess what? 1952 law allows for this. It was created during the Cold War era to make sure that we didn't have communists coming into the country. And now they're bringing it back and they're saying, you know what, the State Department has the right to kick anyone out. But in the meantime, they're putting a pause on all student visas until they can come up with a better vetting system that looks at the social media profiles of these students. Watch.
We revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We revoked it, and here's why. And I'll say it again. I said it everywhere. Let me be abundantly clear, okay? If you go apply for a visa right now, anywhere in the world, let me just send this message out. If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa. And once you've lost your visa, you're no longer legally in the United States, and we have a right, like every country in the world has a right, to remove you from our country. So it's just that simple. I think it's crazy. I think it's stupid for any country in the world to welcome people into their country that are going to go to your universities as visitors. They're visitors. And say, I'm going to your universities to start a riot. I'm going to your universities to take over a library and harass people. I don't care what movement you're involved in. Why would any country in the world allow people to come and disrupt? Now, we gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses. And if we've given you a visa and then you decide to do that, we're going to take it away. I encourage every country to do that, by the way, because I think it's crazy to invite students into your country that are coming onto your campus and destabilizing it. We're just not going to have it. So we'll revoke your visa, and once your visa is revoked, you're illegally in the country and you have to leave. Every country in the world has a right to decide who comes in as a visitor and who doesn't. If you invite me into your home because you say, I want to come to your house for dinner, and I go to your house and I start putting mud on your couch and spray painting your kitchen, I bet you're going to kick me out. Well, we're going to do the same thing if you come into the United States as a visitor and create a ruckus for us. We don't want it. We don't want it in our country. Go back and do it in your country. But you're not going to do it in our country.
It's amazing. Amazing piece of my mind pointing out it's a guest visa, right? Like you're here as a guest. And so if you really don't like the United States or you want to change the United States, no. Work on your own country. Go try and change it there. Don't come here. And so they are putting this pause on these visas in order to come up with a better vetting process so that we make sure we're getting students that are going to engage in all that we have to offer in a good and fruitful and productive way. Imagine that. America first. Right? America first. Imagine that. Imagine caring about, markets and DEI policy, et cetera. Good shout out for 76 Research, to put the actual economic policies and the educational policies first. I mean, this is America first policy. This is what we want. It's what's been voted for.